Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the channel. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever looked at a successful person or a luxury brand and thought to yourself, how did they get there? How did it all begin? You see, every great name in history started small. Some started poor. Some faced tragedy. Some had to walk through storms before they ever saw the sunshine. And today, I want to share with you one of the most powerful stories of all time. The story of Louis Vuitton. Yes, the name you see shining on the windows of luxury stores. The name that represents wealth, success, and elegance all over the world. But behind that name, there was once a little boy with nothing. No money, no power, no parents, only a dream. So stay with me until the end, because this story will inspire you to never give up, no matter where you start. And before we begin, do me a favor, hit the like button to support this channel. Subscribe if you love motivational stories. All right, let's dive into the journey of Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton was born on August 4th, 1821, in a small village called Anche in eastern France. This was not Paris, not a city of glamour, not a place of riches. It was a quiet countryside where people worked the land and lived simple lives. Louis's father was a farmer, his mother a hat maker. They were hard-working, but life was tough, and soon tragedy struck. Louis's mother passed away when he was still very young. Not long after, his father also died. Just like that, Louis became an orphan, a child alone in a world that seemed dark and unfair. But here's what makes this story special. Instead of giving in to sadness, instead of letting his life be decided by circumstances, Louis made a choice. At the age of 13, he looked around at his small village and said to himself, "This is not where my life will end. I will go to Paris. I will build something bigger." Now imagine that for a moment. A boy of 13, with no money, no horse, no carriage, deciding to walk to Paris. That is a journey of more than 400 kilometers. Step by step, through rain and sun, through forests and roads, Louis walked. He worked small jobs along the way, just to survive. Sometimes he slept outside, sometimes he went hungry. But he never turned back. 2 years later, when he was 16, he finally arrived in Paris. Tired, poor, but filled with determination. And this is where the next chapter of his life began. The chapter that would turn a poor orphan into a legend. When Louis Vuitton finally arrived in Paris, he was just 16 years old. Tired from the long journey, poor and alone, but he carried something more powerful than money. He carried determination. Paris in the 1830s was not the glamorous city we imagine today. It was crowded, noisy, and dirty. People from the countryside came here searching for work and a better life, just like Louis. Many failed. Many gave up, but Louis was different. He looked for opportunities, and soon he found one. A man named Monsieur Maréchal, a respected boxmaker and packer, agreed to take him as an apprentice. Now this may sound simple, just making boxes, but at that time it was a very important job. Wealthy families, aristocrats, and nobles were traveling more often. They needed strong, elegant trunks and cases, to carry their clothes and belongings. And they wanted someone skilled, someone trustworthy, to pack everything carefully. Louis threw himself into the work. Day after day, he cut wood, shaped leather, and built trunks with patience and love. But he did more than just work with his hands. He observed. He studied the habits of the wealthy. He learned their tastes, their needs, their desires. He discovered that travel was no longer just about movement. It was becoming a statement of style. And Louis had a vision. Luggage should not only be practical, it should also be beautiful. Step by step, his talent began to shine. Customers noticed his precision. They admired his dedication, and soon the name Louis started to travel quietly among the streets of Paris. Years passed, and Louis built a reputation as one of the best young craftsmen in the city. But then, something happened that would change his life forever. One day, Louis was given a special opportunity. He was asked to work for Empress Eugénie, the wife of Napoleon III, the Emperor of France. This was not just any client. This was royalty. Serving the Empress meant entering the world of the elite, the highest class of society. Louis impressed her with his skill, his precision, and his creativity. He became her personal packer, the one she trusted to prepare her elegant dresses and belongings for travel. Imagine this, a boy who once walked alone from a small village, now walking inside royal palaces, serving the Empress of France. This was not luck. This was the reward of years of hard work, discipline, and faith in his dream. Working for Empress Eugénie opened every door for Louis. Other aristocrats wanted his services. Wealthy families recommended his name. His reputation grew, and soon he realized something important. He could not remain just an apprentice forever. It was time to take a bold step. Louis decided to open his own workshop. In 1854, at the age of 33, he opened the first Louis Vuitton store in Paris. Above the door, he wrote a simple but powerful promise: securely packs the most fragile objects, specializes in packing fashions. This was more than a shop sign. It was a declaration of quality, trust, and style. And with that, Louis Vuitton was born. Not just a man, but a brand. Louis's early years in Paris show us something powerful. No matter how small you start, no matter how poor you are, if you give your best every single day, people will notice. Opportunities will come, doors will open, and one day the world will recognize your name. The year was 1854. Louis Vuitton had just opened his first store in Paris. It was a small beginning, but it carried a big dream. On the sign above his shop, he promised, securely packs the most fragile objects, specializes in packing fashions. At that time, luggage was usually heavy, round-topped, and difficult to carry. Most trunks were made this way so water could roll off during travel by carriage or boat. But Louis had a different vision. He wanted to create something new, something practical, elegant, and modern. And so, in 1858, Louis introduced a revolutionary idea: the flat-top trunk. This may sound simple today, but back then, It was groundbreaking. Why? Because a flat-top trunk could be easily stacked. Travelers no longer had to deal with bulky, awkward shapes. It was lighter, more functional, and at the same time, stylish. The design quickly caught attention. The rich and powerful, who were always looking for comfort and elegance, loved it. Louis's trunks became the new standard for luxury travel. But Louis was not satisfied with just being successful. He knew that with success came competition. Other craftsmen started copying his designs. So what did he do? He innovated again. To protect his brand, Louis experimented with unique designs and materials. In 1872, he introduced a special striped canvas design. Later, his son George would create the famous LV monogram. But even during Louis's lifetime, innovation was the weapon that kept imitators behind. Louis understood something very important. If you want to stay ahead, you cannot stop creating. Success is not about reaching one point and resting. Success is about moving forward, even when others are chasing you. By this time, Louis Vuitton was no longer just a craftsman. He was a businessman, a visionary, and a leader. He moved his workshop to a bigger place in Asnières, just outside Paris, where his family also lived. There, he built not only trunks, but also a culture of excellence. Every worker was trained to follow his high standards. Every piece that left the workshop carried his spirit of precision and perfection. Customers didn't just buy a trunk. They bought a promise of quality, beauty, and durability. Step by step, Louis Vuitton became more than a product. It became a symbol of elegance, travel, and success. Travel was changing. The world was opening up with trains, steamships, and soon international exploration. And Louis Vuitton was ready. His trunks were carried across Europe, across oceans, across continents. Wherever wealthy travelers went, the name Louis Vuitton followed. From Paris to London, from New York to faraway lands, the brand became associated with adventure and luxury. And all of this came from the vision of a boy who once walked alone for 2 years to reach Paris. Louis' story reminds us that dreams do not stay in small villages. Dreams grow if we dare to take them with us into the world. Louis continued to innovate and expand until the very end of his life. In 1892, at the age of 70, Louis Vuitton passed away. But by then, he had already built more than a business. He had created a legacy, a foundation for his son George's to continue, and George's would take the name Louis Vuitton to even greater heights, turning it into the global empire we know today. Louis's journey teaches us something powerful without even saying it directly. Success is not an accident. It is built step by step with courage, vision, and the refusal to quit. From a poor orphan boy in a small French village to a name that shines on the streets of every fashion capital in the world, this is the power of a dream. When Louis Vuitton passed away in 1892, his son Georges Vuitton stepped forward. For many, this moment could have been the end of the story. After all, it is not easy to carry the weight of such a name. But Georges was not just a son. He was a visionary, just like his father. Georges understood that the world was changing. Travel was no longer only for aristocrats and royals. It was becoming more accessible, more global, more ambitious. And with that, the demand for reliable, elegant luggage was growing. So Georges decided not only to protect his father's legacy, but to expand it. In 1896, Georges introduced something that would become one of the most famous symbols in history, the LV monogram canvas. This design, with its interlocking L and V and its floral patterns, was not just decoration. It was protection. Remember, many competitors were trying to copy Louis's designs. Georges wanted to make something unique, something impossible to imitate. What he created was more than just a logo. It became a universal sign of luxury, elegance, and success. Even today, more than a century later, the LV monogram is instantly recognized everywhere in the world. Georges was not afraid to dream bigger. He took Louis Vuitton beyond France, opening stores in London, New York, and other major cities. The name was no longer just Parisian, it was global. At world fairs and exhibitions, the LV trunks were displayed as symbols of innovation and style. Travelers, businessmen, celebrities, and leaders all wanted to own one. Owning a Louis Vuitton piece was no longer just about travel. It was about status. It was about identity. The little workshop that started in Paris had now become an empire of elegance. Decade after decade, the Vuitton family continued to innovate. They created new designs, new shapes, new styles of bags and accessories. They adapted to modern travel, cars, airplanes, luxury hotels. Wherever life evolved, Louis Vuitton evolved too. And soon, Louis Vuitton was no longer just a luggage maker. It became part of fashion itself. Handbags, wallets, accessories. Every product carried the same spirit of excellence that Louis had believed in so deeply. Today, Louis Vuitton is one of the most valuable luxury brands in the world. Its stores shine in Paris, New York, Dubai, Tokyo, and every fashion capital. Celebrities, leaders, artists, and dreamers all over the world carry the LV monogram. But when you see that monogram, remember this. It is not just about wealth. It is about a story of a poor boy who once walked alone for 2 years to reach Paris. A boy who lost his parents, but never lost his dream. A boy who built something that outlived him and continues to inspire millions of people even today. The lesson is simple, my friends. Your beginnings do not decide your ending. The road may be long, lonely, and painful, but if you keep walking, you will arrive. And when you arrive, do not stop. Innovate, create, and keep building. Louis Vuitton did not just make trunks. He made a dream. And his son, Georges, made that dream eternal. So the next time you see the letters LV on a bag, remember, it is not just luxury. It is a reminder that no matter how small your village, no matter how heavy your past, your future can be as big as your dream. If this story inspired you, give this video a like, because it helps us reach more dreamers like you. Subscribe to the channel for more motivational stories of success. and hit the bell so you don't miss the next journey we share together. Remember, success is built one step at a time. So keep walking. Your Paris is waiting for you.